Am I not the only one that thinks it's way too expensive to live in the UK? It's getting ridiculous now that I'm thinking of moving. I've actually totted up how much it costs for me to survive, okay? For me to support my family in the south of England, okay? Right, and this is ridiculous. All throughout history, men have been able to be the breadwinners of the household. Even the lowest classes could afford a house and have a family, a wife, kids, and give them some food. Why can't we do it now? It's madness, right? Okay, this is how much my costs are. I've got one wife, only one, and 3 kids, okay? And I'm the breadwinner, subhanallah. Right, we're ready. So my rent is £1,700, right? Council tax, £246, okay? Gas and electric, about 250, it matters, you know, whether it's winter or not. During the winter it is 350 plus. Water, about 30 quid a month. Internet, 50 quid. To be fair, I've got expensive internet for my job, okay? And I work from home. Food, in between £500 and £600 a month, and that is like without many treats or anything. So for me to survive, right, and actually be the breadwinner in my family, I've got to earn £2,776 a month. That's mental, bruv. That is ridiculous, right? Do you know why? Because what's that? Let's work out the salary of that. I'm just going to pause. So it's about 34,000, just under 34,000 a year. After tax. I know, couldn't be bothered to do the percentage of tax. It's ridiculous. And that's just to survive. That's just to feed people, and there's no Netflix or anything there.
Tell me, yeah, I'm not the only one who spends a fucking fortune on shopping. Last month, we spent £800 on food. Give and take some few little bits for Christmas, but £800 on food. Okay, my husband is a bodybuilder. Maybe that's what he needs to quit, but that's like a wage. If you spend that much money, please let me know, or please let me know in the comments how much you spend on food, just so I can compare to see if I am doing something wrong. Because I can't cope. I don't want to do it anymore. I need to save some pennies.
This morning I thought to myself, where would the best place in the UK be to live for the average person who just works a normal job? So as you would, you'd pick the capital first, London, and I had a quick look at the prices. And then I realised living in London is literally impossible for the average person these days. Out of all the sources I found, the average wage in the UK is 34.9 grand per year. Obviously, London's going to be more, and out of all the sources I found, the average was £42.2 thousand per year. And if you're earning that much money, you're paying approximately 8.9 grand as tax. That is what you're left with per year. And in 2023, this is how much rent was in London. Obviously, we're in a recession now, which means it's probably going to be a little bit less, but I have to go off a source, so we're going to go off this. So over a year, you'd be paying this much. So this is the amount you're left with over the course of an entire year. 12 months work for that. Now, say you're spending £3 per day on food, which is extremely difficult as it is, but say you bought cheap, you meal prepped really well, and you only spent £3 per day. This is how much you'd be spending in the entire year on food. You're now left with that much. Now you're spending 842 quid on water. You're now left with this much. I'm going to literally take the cheapest one for the gas bill, and here's our remaining money. Oh, don't forget the electricity bill, 725 quid per year. We're now in debt just by living. Now, say you wanted to have a life, you wanted to enjoy your weekend, or maybe go on a holiday once per year for the couple of weeks you have off from work, like 4 weeks. You're now in even more debt than that. Oh, and if you got like kids or a family or someone you need to look after and pay for as well, good luck. Now, I was speaking to a few Canadians the other day and they said it's way worse in Canada than it is in London. I'm thinking, what is going on over there? Is this just going to keep continuing like for the rest of our life until every single person in the country is in debt? And you wonder why Brits want to move abroad.
How does anyone not realise the absolute scam of supermarkets? I genuinely can't walk in this place without spending at least £50 to £100, and that's not to get a week's shop, that's literally a day. Just a few essentials, a little bit of food. Look at these prices, £5 for fish, £4 for juice, £4 for shower gel, a £5 for eggs. People work a whole hour for £10 and it costs nearly that for washing tablets. It's alright for me earning thousands of pounds per day, but I genuinely can't understand how anyone survives these days. If you want to learn how to make a second income, go to the bio.
I think W.H. Smith wants to hang their head in fucking shame. Now, this is W.H. Smith's Fair enough, it's in the airport, but they are charging £4.19 for a bottle of Pepsi Max. Just a 500ml bottle of Pepsi Max. So as you can see, they've also got the Lucozade at the same price because it was £8.18. I mean, no wonder they're closing in the high street. They're moving into all airports, all train stations. But if I was you guys, and you just walk away from prices like this. They are taking the absolute piss. And us idiots, because we're in an airport, we want to drink, we're stupid enough to pay it. WH Smiths, you want to have a fucking word with yourself, because this is what is really starting to take the mick out of customers. This is pure and utter greed. There's no other word for it. So customers coming into your shop, packets of crisps are over £2 and £4.19 for Pepsi. So look, followers, anybody on TikTok, this is what greed looks like, and this is why WH Smith is failing. £4.19 for a popular bottle, just a small bottle of pop. Absolute daylight robbery. And companies like this want to hang their heads in shame, but they'll not, because they're greedy. And they rely on stupid people like me to pay for it. No more. Absolutely no more. I'd rather drink water out the tap. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments, guys.
And we talk about the working class in the UK for a minute, because if you still don't understand why the working class is voting for reform, and you're just boiling it down to racism and saying they're dumb, basically, I'm sorry, but you yourself are probably dumb, or at least willfully ignorant. Because let's be honest, right? You think that a working class person is going to look at the Labour Party or the Conservative Party and see themselves in it? Doesn't make any sense. I'm not working class myself, and I don't pretend to be. But what I personally see is a political class that doesn't represent anyone anymore, any real people. Because remember this, right? Labour was meant to be the party for the working class, for working people. And that's whether it was like builders, nurses, cleaners, delivery drivers, carers, all of them. Who is it run by now? Middle class politicians. Are they even fighting for real change anymore? Because they backed away from nationalising public services, from supporting strikes, from investing in forgotten towns, to challenging the elite. They've dropped so many pledges so soon that I can't even remember everything they've dropped. It seems like they just want to manage a system rather than changing it. And the Brexit vote should have been a warning to everyone, because at that time it was a working class saying that they've had enough of being ignored, enough of low wages, of shit jobs, of expensive rents, overcrowded hospitals. And the response of many was literally just to mock them, was to paint them as racists, as fools. And they're shocked that these same voters don't trust them anymore, don't trust them to support their issues. But let's be real, Reform aren't there to help either. Reform do not care about the working class. They are literally grifters. They talk tough but offer no actual solutions. All Reform are going to do is find a new minority group to blame. Because remember, it was literally Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, all of them who said, do Brexit, we take back control. The country will be better. Okay, so we've done Brexit. Where's this better country? Where is the control? Are wages better? No. Is housing cheaper? No. Is the NHS fixed? No. Is life better for most working class people, or for most people in general? Absolutely not. So again, we've taken back control with Brexit, quote unquote, and now we're worse off. And what do you think they've done? What are they doing? Blaming more immigrants, blaming protesters, blaming refugees. Reform will just find a new group to blame. So the problem now is, alright, so Labour's given up on the working class. Tories never cared for the working class. And Reform just want to use their pain to push this weird blame game. The working class is being pulled into a culture war while no one is talking about their real problems, or just ignoring it, because it's poverty, it's exploitation, it's hopelessness. People aren't voting Reform because they're right-wing. I truly don't believe so. They're voting Reform because no one else is even pretending to listen. The working class deserve more than this. More than being pawns for someone else's strategy. More than being lied to, used and blamed. Labour, if they want to win back the working class, they need to look in the mirror. And Reform, respectfully, need to piss off. Because they need to stop pretending they have answers to anything. Right now, none of them are for the people anymore. And until someone steps up who actually is, this mess will keep getting worse. But yeah, it's just my opinion. Maybe wrong, but whatever.
It seems like the UK is buckling down for austerity 2.0, which means everybody is supposed to be tightening their belts again. Spend less, save more, and the economy will get better. This is, as we all know from personal experience, of course, complete nonsense. One of the fundamental contradictions of capitalism is economic agents like you and me, workers, always motivated by the system to spend as little as possible, to save as much as possible, to invest as much as possible. But if everybody does that, then nobody's buying anything. And if nobody buys anything, then all investments will fail. So even though the sensible thing for everybody to do is to pay off their credit card bill, pay their mortgage, pay off all their debts, and then start to save, and then start to invest, the economy, whatever that's supposed to be, would just be in tatters. Like, immediately. Everything would go wrong. In the UK right now, the Tories are actually deliberately trying to make everybody poorer. And they admit this in order to bring down inflation. Because that's the worst possible thing. So they're trying to make more people unemployed, and they're trying to make sure people are paid less. Even if you cared about the economy, whatever that's supposed to be, that would not be the right way to improve it. On the one hand, inflation is supposed to be something that harms the rich as much as it does the poor. But is that really true? Rich people aren't spending thousands of times as much as poor people are on, like, basic necessities and things like that. It hardly costs them any portion of their income to do their weekly shop. The weekly shop, energy bills, these kind of things matter. But there's nothing that the Tories have got planned, or Labour for that matter, that's going to make a jot of difference. It's not that they don't have any solutions. It's that they don't want the solutions that will work to make people actually better off. Because then the rich wouldn't be as powerful. They wouldn't be as in control. And they wouldn't be as ridiculously rich as they currently are. So the establishment just doesn't want any of the real solutions to happen. A government has, within its power, the ability to, with the stroke of a pen, give everybody a home that they own. They could, with a few votes and the stroke of a pen, nationalise public industries, nationalise the banks. They could easily nationalise the rail network. It's not like they don't have the money, because money comes from the government. Supposedly, the government is really worried about making too much money because then there'll be inflation. Well, we've already got inflation, and plenty of us are so poor that it doesn't really matter if the economy gets any worse, because we can't get any poorer. Not quite in that situation, but I'm on like a median income level, and if I was any poorer than I am now, I really would be able to afford nothing at all. Just keeping a roof over my head, keeping the car running, which my partner needs for work, you know, paying off bills all the time, and I would have nothing left over for anything, ever. Most people are worse off than I am. I know this. Why should I give a shit about the economy? It's never worked for me. It's always gotten worse. And if it gets any worse, I'll just be, more numbers going wrong somewhere, in a computer somewhere. The government, and it doesn't seem to matter at the moment whether it's Tories or Labour, or Lib Dems, as if they matter, their number one fear seems to be working people getting money. Enough money to not have a miserable life. They seem to be absolutely, that's the worst thing for them. They would rather throw the baby out with the bathwater than give the baby a bath with the water they have already got. All of their policy seems to be based around hatred of the poor and just shuffling numbers around here and there to make it worse for them. We already have almost full employment, so the problem isn't getting people to work. Just give people the money they need, for the love of God. It's just numbers. It means nothing. It's just numbers. We have an infinite supply of numbers. If people have more numbers, then they can go out and they can buy more things, and they can do more work, and more things can get done. How are politicians the ones making the system, not understanding this. It's the most basic, obvious thing about the system. Okay, I got a bit ranty there. The point I was trying to make is that people need to have money so that they can buy things they need to use. If they work as they should in a capitalist economy, they should be saving all their money and investing it and not spending any of it on stuff if they can possibly help it. And if that happens, if everyone did that, the economy wouldn't work. But if people don't have any money, then they can't spend money and they can't save money. The way that capitalism works is everything is illegal until you pay for it. You can commit a crime and you can get away with it if you can pay the fine. It's gotten so bad that people are working and working and working and they never have anything to show for it at the end. So it is literally pointless to work. Like, anyone who understands how capitalism is supposed to work in theory, anyone who understands how it actually works in practice, even on a superficial level, should understand these basic things. But we have a political class that just wants to drive all of us off a cliff just so that they can be the ones holding the steering wheel the whole time. If they wanted to, they could just hold the steering wheel and not steer us off a cliff. They choose to steer off a cliff. Guys, we can't keep voting for deliberate evil and deliberate evil rainbow version. Only radical reforms are going to get us out of this mess. That is radical reforms based in empathy and a scientific approach to determining how the world works. Like, if fascism seems like a sensible radical alternative, it isn't. It doesn't work. It's not really different. It's just what we've got with the mask off. When people are out there suggesting radical changes like we need to abolish money, that's not an extreme opinion. Keeping the system we have now, that is extreme. And it's because what we have now is not working. Like, healthcare is failing. Sewage is being dumped into the rivers. People can't afford to get a home of their own. People who have homes can't afford to do anything else. We didn't vote for any of this. We've just been putting up with it our entire lives, as it's been getting worse. But you can't reform this kind of thing. Like, if somebody's injecting like 10 milliliters of poison directly into your veins, reforming it to 8 millimeters of poison isn't going to make you better. It's just going to kill you slightly slower, which, if you are basically at the end of your life, isn't going to make a whole lot of difference. So, if you're one of those people who actually supports capitalism, and my God, who are you at this point? But if you are, people still need money. If you want people to keep playing this absurd game that we're all forced to play, people have to have money to play it with. When people go on strike, saying they need more money, just give them more money. Needs to be above the rate of inflation, like way above, because we've had it below the rate of inflation for so long. Basic maths, guys, come on. Why are the people at the bottom of rung of the ladder having to do all of the heavy lifting mentally? The system that you use to exploit us will collapse if you don't make these simple changes. We look forward to it collapsing, but sure would be nice if you could take your boot off our neck whilst it's collapsing. Okay, that was a bit more of a rambly rant than I wanted it to be, but that's all I've got to say for now. Thanks for listening, if you actually did listen to the whole thing.